Towards the end of 2025's Game Awards, Jeff Keighley came out on stage to tease the show's final reveal. A game that he was personally very excited about and honored to showcase. He described it as a game that would push the genre forward, created by the former leads of Apex Legends and Titanfall. All sounds good so far. Well,
into lands uncharted and dangers untold, I venture without fear and ride without rest.
The trailer showcasing what appeared to be yet another fantasy hero shooter dubbed Highguard. The reveal was met with a resounding thud across the industry. And to be clear, we ourselves had a similar meh response when the game was revealed.
Reveal and then the last.
That's my birthday!
Hey, HBD!
I think it's absolutely fair to say that Keighley clearly misjudged the type of reaction this game would generate. And closing out a great show with it, well, read the room, man. Highguard was due to be released on January 26, 2026 as a free-to-play game, and people had already decided it would be dead on arrival. And who can blame them? We've seen so many similar-looking projects come and go at this point. It's fair to ask why developers keep trying to make these types of games. In an interview with the press at the recent preview event, Dusty Welch, CEO and co-founder of Wildlight Entertainment, gave a bit of an answer for that, saying,
But ultimately, when you look, kind of top-down, 30,000-foot view in the shooter space, I mean, shooters are still the rocket fuel that is propelling the games business, both MAU, monthly active users, in playtime and in revenue. The CAGRs are really positive and strong and continuing to grow. 5 of the top 10 games on PC are shooters by MAU, and so we can go on and on with stats.
Oh yeah.
But still, there's an undercurrent of sentiment and some disregard.
After the botched reveal, Highguard went quiet. In the weeks leading up to launch, I was seeing daily articles and videos asking why the game wasn't being marketed more. This is where I really started to notice a pattern with content creators, social media pundits, and even the traditional games media almost seemingly rooting for the game to fail. Before the game was even out, people across all mediums were making a staggering amount of videos, posts, and shorts about how the game was dead on arrival, it was going to be Concord 2.0, comments attacking the developers themselves, really any negative thing people could come up with about the game, alongside the usual whining about diversity or whatever other nonsense people come up with to be mad about these days. In my mind, the developers had no choice but to go quiet, regardless of what they say their plans actually were. Any amount of movement Wildlight Entertainment would make would be heavily scrutinized, any further explaining of what they were making would be mocked, and anything even remotely perceived to be defensive about the game would be used to fuel the narrative that had been created. Unfortunately, the creator economy has really been overtaken by reaction content. People reacting to that reaction content, and then reacting to the reaction of that reaction. It's a never-ending cycle of people judging things before they even have anything to really judge, whether it's positive or negative. People were more interested in the drama than the game, and really, the only option the developers had at that point was to release the game and let it speak for itself. Drama sells, and when it catches on in creator spaces, everyone looks to cash in on it as much as they can. This type of content has always been around, but I think it's become much more prevalent following the monetization of places like X, algorithms focusing more and more on what drives engagement over promoting actual thoughtful pieces of work, and of course the continuing decrease of any sort of moderation on platforms as more and more of that work is delegated to AI. Highguard highlighted a trend that has become more and more prevalent with game reveals as of late though. Content creators and journalists across the board seem to be frothing at the mouth for games to fail or to prove those that want it to fail wrong. Hyper-focusing on player counts, user reviews, sales numbers. Anything but talking about the merits of the actual games. You even have people faking that they were at preview events for the game to try to literally cash in on the engagement. It's pathetic, really. Media and content creators have an incentive for high-profile games to have drama attached to them because they make money off the engagement. Most of the videos I watched while writing this piece didn't even feature the content creators playing the game on screen, just providing their thoughts and reactions to everyone else's reactions to the game, or commenting on their own Twitter drama they created. Thousands of negative user reviews ported for Highguard less than an hour after launch, which is curious because A, the tutorial is like 20 minutes long, B, the servers weren't working very well at launch because of the influx of people coming in, so people were stuck in login queues, and C, most matches I have played take at least 20 minutes or longer if the teams are balanced. Once a game is out, the big story focus I tend to see is player count, and not if the game is actually any good or not. Highguard hit 100,000 concurrent players on Steam on its day of release and then quickly dropped as the servers were overloaded and negative reviews came pouring in, and it has since stabilized around 10,000 plus. The story has now shifted to how the game is a massive failure out of the gate for losing 90% of its player base in the first week. Player base the game never had in the first place because it just came out and was free for anyone to try, which always overinflates numbers for these games at launch. I've covered this topic before in more depth, but most multiplayer games don't have massive player bases and don't need them to be successful. That has always been the case, but the hyper-focus on player counts by press and content creators has made people believe a game needs tens or even hundreds of thousands of active players at any given moment to be a success. Just ask the developers of Insurgency, Hell Let Loose, or Squad. Wildlight Entertainment addressed this exact point with the press when they were interviewed during the recent press junket for the game, saying, "Honestly, we don't need player counts to be super huge in order to be successful," said lead designer Mohammed Alvi. "We're a small team. A 6-player match, Highguard's max player count at launch, is not hard to find. What we're really hoping for is a core group of fans that love us. That will allow us to grow. Being the ire of the internet hate machine sucks, but at the same time, I try to just focus on making the best game I can and getting that game into people's hands. At the end of the day, that's all that really matters." This culture of instant reaction engagement bait from all corners just feels increasingly disingenuous and cyclical, whether it's from people wanting a game to fail or people defending a game from those that want it to fail. The reaction videos and articles are just responding to one another in circles with very little feedback about the game itself. If there is feedback, it's not even their own feedback, just what they've read from people who are actually playing the game. This is the routine of most big game releases these days because it's an easily repeatable formula for people who put the least amount of effort into their work and are rewarded for it continually. There's no obvious solution to this problem. People are free to make what they want, and people are free to choose what they want to watch. Unfortunately, I think this type of low-effort games criticism continues to make the industry a more and more hostile place. And since it's so easy to monetize it, more and more people are continuing to join in on making this type of garbage and flooding the zone with it, leading to an endless cycle of looking for or trying to fabricate the next big controversy. It's not enough to just play and criticize the game. A lot of this content actively wants you to hate the game and the people who made it. Games criticism doesn't have to devolve to blindly defending or hating something. You can just provide your thoughts and criticisms like a normal person who plays games. Like I will do right now. Having played about a dozen matches of Highguard now, I can confidently say, it's fine. It's generic, it's a bit bare bones, and the fact there's so much controversy around this game, of all games, makes it obvious how much of what's being said about it is just engagement bait. Highguard is not going to be my next game I play every night like Rematch, but the core gameplay is solid, and in general, I like the concept of what they're going for. I tend to enjoy multiplayer games with multiple objectives that lead to a climatic endgame moment. However, I do have a few key issues with Highguard. The core concept is destroying the base of the opposing team, but getting there isn't much of a challenge. The maps are very large, and while I understand the loop now and how important gathering resources is to stay in the fight at the later stages of the match, when you need to replenish armor, repair walls, or change up your weapon strategy, breaking apart gemstones isn't all that interesting. The game needs to liven up its maps by adding some environmental hazards or AI enemies to fight to actually have a reason for all that space, and make the resource grind more of an interesting time management exercise. That's where the tough decision making and adrenaline start to build. Go for the better loot in more risky areas, or go for the resources to prepare for the siege to come. I have similar criticisms for the actual raiding of the bases as well. It should feel like a climatic end of round battle to take over the base. And as it stands with just 6 players on the map, there's a missing element of chaos that should come with a raid on a fort. As of right now, you get the shield breaker, you deliver it to the wall, and then you wait a few moments for your siege tower to open up a section of the shield defending the base. Unless players from the opposing team are outside of the base when this is going on, you're just standing around, waiting for it to finish. That's a moment when the attacking team should be having to defend their siege tower, while the defending team is using the resources they collected to build up some last-second defenses, or slow that tower down before it can break through the shield. There's just too much downtime in between the moments of action on Highguard right now, which feels at odds with the game's premise. All the ingredients are there that should make these matches feel like epic battles of attrition and smart decision making. There's a good foundation here, and I think if Wildlight Entertainment took inspiration from something like Chivalry 2's Team Objective or even For Honor's Breach mode, you'd have something a lot more players would connect with. As of right now, it's a sweaty shooter in maps that are far too large. and I think the fun factor will be found more in the chaotic moments that Highguard does have the foundations to provide. It's got a solid roadmap in front of it as well, with updates coming every month, which should help keep people interested. What's here now, though, is really not worthy of the controversy that's surrounding it. It's just another game in a crowded games as a service market that will live or die based on Wildlight's ability to take feedback to heart, make the necessary changes, and draw new players in over time. The best thing the developers can do at this point is just put their heads back down, get to work, and ignore the noise. If they stay focused on building the core community of players like they set out to do, then I think the game will be fine. At the end of the day, it's just another game. Some people will like it, others won't, and a bunch of other people will make it their entire identity for the next month or so before moving on to the next thing.